Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been a varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan for many years. Currently, my daughter and I are coaching one of the best AAU teams in the country. Thank you for watching today, and if you would please, if you're watching on Spotify, leave a 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and like. Today we're going to talk about that Teal is real, and so is Cade Cunningham. Last night, Cade put on a show that we've been waiting for all year. He had 35 points and 9 rebounds and 8 assists, and he was just on fire. I was concerned that, he played so well in the first half on Wednesday night against the Hawks that they would devise some plan to stop him. But exactly the opposite was true. Cade used all of his magic and all of his moves and knocked down consistently his pull-up jumper, and he just torched the Hawks for 27 points in the first half. And then he came on, finished with 8 points in the second half, but he was very efficient, most efficient he's been all year, making 14 out of 23 shots. He was 0 for 3 from 3. I still am very confident that Cade will get his arc up and will hit his three-pointer more consistently. He was 7 for 8 on free throws, which again, when he was in the attack mode all the time, they were fouling him. It was very frustrating, especially the time that he drove right down the middle and hammered that dunk, and it was actually almost like a flagrant foul it could have been called, and nothing was called. So that was very, very disgusting. George Blaha said, "Count that baby in a foul," and then he was stunned because there was no foul. Even better yet, with all the usage that Cade had last night, he had 1 turnover, and that was incredible. He made so many good passes. Well, he had 8 assists. He made so many more. He made a great pass to Beef Stew, who missed a dunk. And there were 3 or 4 other times where he made a really sensational pass to a guy who was going to get an easy shot, and they got hammered, and so they didn't get the ball up into the basket, but they got 2 free throws, and so that does not count for an assist. And obviously, he was 1 rebound away from getting it. He would, with those assists and 1 more rebound, he would have had a triple-double. But, it was just amazing performance. Again, the one we've been waiting for. He is the guy that is going to, if we're going to go anywhere, it's going to be on Cade's back. He has all the talent in the world, and that just showed his perseverance and passion. And he just, he's had some good games lately. He had that great fourth quarter where he scored 12 in the fourth quarter. Then he came back Wednesday night, and he had 22 in the first half against the Hawks. And then last night, he had really a complete game. He still gets too many fouls, and some of those fouls, a couple of them at least were cheap, which typically happens when a player gets in foul trouble. When I was coaching in high school, that happened. Any time a player fouled out, typically you got a few cheap ones, but it's the other fouls, you just got to really be careful. We're so much better with Cade on the floor than off the floor, and I just know he's too competitive that he just doesn't want to allow easy baskets. So we got a lot to look forward to, and we're so lucky to get to watch Cade over the years. He really rocked the teal. I joked that he was averaging 35 points a game when wearing teal. So hopefully it'll be a good sign of things to come. I will admit that I'm not huge into the different jerseys. I like the black jerseys that they had. I thought those looked really sharp. I like the teal jerseys. It's just I'm more about what the players do on the court, and I know a lot of fans like the different jerseys and the different colors, and I'm cool with that too. So Saddiq Bey had played 30 minutes last night. He was only 2 for 8, 0 for 4 on threes. Again, Saddiq has had this count last year, the same thing. He had either good games or not so good games. He had still played 40 minutes, had 4 rebounds. But another alarming thing is 0 assists again. He does not look to pass, and I believe that sometimes when he does have the ball in his hands, there are people that might be open. But it's just going to be something we watch for all year. Certainly Saddiq needs to play lots of minutes. He needs to play 30 minutes a game, and hopefully he can make some adjustments and improvements in his game. Again, another thing that's been consistent, he was minus 21, which was tied for the worst on the team, and he's consistently had the worst plus and minus. Plus and minus doesn't always tell the story. There are a lot of variables that go into plus and minus that do not just affect one player, but he is consistently like the lowest on the team when it comes to plus and minus. So Bogey last night was good. He was really good. He played 30 minutes and he had 22 points, but he was 5 for 12 shooting, which is below what he's been. He's been shooting over 50%, but he was 3 for 6 on threes. And even bigger yet, he was 9 for 9 on free throws. So a thing that you have to watch for and how much a player produces is how many points they score per shot taken. So even though he took 12 shots, he scored 22 points. That is really a lot of production and efficiency. So he got 4 rebounds. I don't know if he got maybe 1 assist, but he still played good. They were really coming after him after the great night he had on Wednesday. And so they were following him a lot. So that was limiting him into his production. I was really want to talk about, there's been some discussion about trading him. And, I love watching him play. He is just a true joy for a basketball fan to watch play, how he competes and how clever he is, how he helps the other players on and off the court. He has been just a treasure for us so far this year. But he has 1 year just this year on his contract, and so he'll be a free agent next year. And so if we can get something of value, it's just like the stock market. You always try to sell high and buy low. Well, Troy Weaver bought him low, trading just Kelly Olynyk and Saban Lee. And if we get an opportunity to get a first-round pick, even if it's a late first-round pick in the upcoming draft, or a really athletic wing that can shoot the three a little bit, that's quite young, which I doubt anybody would trade one of those players away, I still think that he needs to pull the trigger. I do think that, I certainly wouldn't have a problem with keeping him on the team. I wouldn't even have a problem with signing him. If he wanted to sign a contract that was even like $50 million for 3 years and a team option for the third year, I would be really cool with that. So I love him playing. I don't know where our team would be without him, because we've struggled enough with him. So his defense isn't great, but he is so good offensively that there's offense is even. I think defense is important, but offense is a little bit more important. And so when you're a little deficient defensively, when you're exceptional offensively, it makes up for it. So I still love having him on the team. But I still wouldn't hesitate if we got the right offer to take it and trade for him, when the time comes. Ivy was sick, missed the game on Wednesday, and he played last night. He was limited. The doctors asked that, he just play here and there, and so he played, short stints, and he didn't have the best game. He played 23 minutes, had 12 points, 4 for 11 shooting, but he still was active. I still like the way he played. And I'm real confident that he's going to be recovered from the flu or whatever it is that he has and come out and play really well on Sunday. So Killian was at a good Killian game, which is way better than the Washington game. That was a nightmare. I think I've talked about Killian is just, I think, mentally in a hard place. I don't think he's a good shooter, but I don't think he's as bad as he's been. I think, again, he just puts so much pressure on himself, and his confidence has wavered, and I think that it's just really impacted his play. So he had 2 points. He was 1 for 6, which figures out to be 16%, which is exactly what he has shot for the season. It's 16% on threes and 16% from the field. So he did have 5 rebounds and 4 assists and 2 turnovers in 15 minutes, which those still are good stats. The 5 rebounds and 4 assists in 15 minutes. That's good volume, good production for that few minutes. But somehow he still does need to shoot. He is a really good defender. He did get sucked out of position a couple times last night, and it ended up hurting us, and players got by him. And he's really good on the ball and really can shut down people, but some things just went wrong for him last night. So Isaiah Livers, who I'm really optimistic about, he had another subpar game. He played only 15 minutes, and he was 0 for 3 and had 2 rebounds, but he had 2 turnovers, and so that's not going to be good enough. But this is the year, man. We gotta let our players play, our young players play. We have to find out what they have, and we got to find out how good they're going to be, and so that we can, make our plans for the future, see who's going to stay, who's not going to stay, see what we need to add or what we need to drop. And so I just want Livers to play. I want him to play more than 15 minutes a game. Obviously, if he's not playing as well, I don't have a problem with him, sitting out some And so I just think that he'll do better. I'm confident that he'll do better. He has very many NBA games under his belt. Hamidou Diallo had his best game last night of the season, and I still not sure where his role is going to be on this team once Burks comes back. He had played 14 minutes. He was 3 for 4, which is really good, and 8 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. Exceptional game for Hami, and I know he does get lost on defense quite often, and he has struggled shooting the ball so far, but that was, if he can give us 14 minutes and that kind of production, that's good. Corey Joseph had, not a good game last night. He was 0 for 3, 16 minutes. He just didn't do much, and he is not a great defender. He works really hard on defense, but I just think that we're better off putting our minutes into our younger players. So Jalen Duren, he had maybe his least productive game, at least especially rebounding wise. He only had 3 rebounds, but he was 2 for 4 and had 8 points. He gets fouled a lot, so he knocked down some free throws. But the best thing about him, he had 2 blocks, and those blocks are huge. And again, in the first half last night, they just drove it to the rim, especially in the first half, and got it right to the cup and laid it in. And we had nothing there, nobody there to stop him. So I just really think, again, I'm going to keep on saying it, he needs to play a minimum of 25 minutes, and he's playing 20 or 20 to 23 minutes a game. And I know that sounds a little nitpicking, but again, I think he needs to play at least 28 minutes. So he just needs to play. And what do we have to lose? I mean, we are losing right now. We need to develop these young players. He is our only rim protector on the team. He rebounds the crap out of the ball. And he also needs to play with Cade. And Cade's kind of hinted in the media even that he would like to maybe play more with him. So he's played only 41 minutes the whole year with Duren and Cade together. And during that time, their defensive rating was 105, which is the lowest defensive rating of any 2 players on our team. For example, with Cade and Stu together, they played 133 minutes together, and their net rating is 120. So it's way worse than what Cade is with Stu. So another thing I want to say about Cade, I forgot to mention this earlier. With Cade on the court, our net rating is minus 3.91. Our net rating without him on the court is minus 30, which is unbelievable difference. And these are just into the first 4 games, these stats are. And, Cade was not good in those first 4 games, but he still had such a huge impact, and we are still so much better with Cade on the court than we are with him off the court. Offensively, our net rating is 116 with Cade on the court and only 87 with Cade off the court. So even though his percentages aren't good, his turnovers are good, the fact that teams are double teaming him all the time, that opens up things for other teams. He moves the ball really well, even too much. He's been more aggressive lately, but some games earlier in the year he was moving the ball too often and not looking to try to score. But anyway, those 2 guys need to play together when Duren doesn't start and Cade does start. So I'm just saying, start Duren. I know we worry about if we start him and Stu together, then we have no big people on the bench, and if they get in foul trouble, we're screwed. Well, guess what? We're not winning right now. I think we need to try that lineup. It looked pretty good at times last night. The defense did with those 2 big guys on the court. I'm not sure what's going on with Noel. So he's been ready to play. He's been eligible to play for the last 4 games, I think, and I don't know why. I haven't heard any news or word, and I listen to everything I can and read everything I can about our Pistons, and I haven't seen why he is just not playing. So if we can start if we can start Stu and Duren together, and then have Noel to come in to back up, or if somebody gets in foul trouble, and then also we can still play our smaller lineup, especially with one of the big guys and Livers. I think we'll still be fine. But those 2 guys need to play together. It's obviously that we're a better defensive team with Cade and Duren on the court, and defense has been the biggest problem for us this year. So we have had points in the paint again last night were 70 for Atlanta, 54 for Detroit. And so, again, we don't have a lob threat out there. And when he's in there, Duran gets a lot of offensive rebounds. So that helps us get points in the paint. But like I said, Cade was so much better last year when Bagley played. His efficiency went way up when he had that lob threat. And Bagley got lots of dunks on lobs, and almost every one of them were from Cade. So we just need to make sure that we try to, at least, for whatever way Casey wants to do it, we need to have those two guys play together. And again, I think you increase Duran's minutes, and then you play them together, and even just start Duran and see what happens. I think this year is going to be a lot. We're 1-5 or whatever, and we need to just experiment and see. We have nothing to lose. You don't have to play them the whole game together. So last night, again, we were down by, it was really close at halftime when Cade had 27 points. And then even when Cade got his fifth foul in the third quarter and came out, we were only down by 9. And then Casey waits till to put him back in. But by then, we were down by 21. And so I've had these rules when I was a high school coach that if a player picked up their second foul in the first quarter, I left them out until the end of the first quarter at least. And then in the second quarter, if they picked up their third foul, I would take them out. Some coaches, my daughter, when she coaches, if they have 2 fouls, they sit out the whole half. Well, of course, she and I both have exceptions to our rules, and that is if you're getting killed, if you're way behind, there is no point in saving a player. Like was no point last night in when the lead went with Cade out from 9 to 21 in just a short time, that you might as well just get him out there and see what happens. Even if he fouls out, we're probably going to lose the game anyway. So big thing that we have learned, I think, it's real easy to overreact, and fans are fanatics, and I'm a fanatic, and it's only been 6 games, but you need to try different things, and you don't need to overreact. But one thing we know is we need more defenders on this team. And again, I think Burks is a better than average defender, so he'll make a difference. And Noel is an exceptional defender for a big guy. And we are better with Duran on the floor. So we do have some options once players aren't injured, but we also need to draft some defensive players that are exceptional athletes that are real good on defense. And if we do sign players in free agency, we need to try to find some better defenders. So again, like I said, we don't want to overreact, but we are in a position where we need to experiment. And whether that means don't start Sadiq. And I know people think it sounds like I'm a Sadiq hater, and I know a lot of you love Sadiq, but it's not so much that he would lose his starting job, but it's just that it's not working. So we need to take somebody out of the starting lineup and let Duran start. So my choice would be Sadiq. He always has played better when there are fewer good players out on the court. He had a great game against the Knicks, I think. And, I just think that he played with the second unit. He can be the go-to guy. Last year, he was so much better when there were fewer good players on the court for our team. He really embraced that role as a scorer. So I do think he still, no matter what he plays, he still needs to not have a one-track mind and just look to shoot every time he gets it. So, like I said, the points in the paint are our big problem. And again, we're playing with an undersized and lineup that's not very athletic, so that contributes to that. Because the second chance points actually weren't that bad. It was Atlanta had 18 and we had 17. Fast break points wasn't the problem either for those. It was 8-6 were fast break points. Like I said, the big thing is we just let them get to the rim in the first half. They just drove to the basket. They drove by not just one of our players, but lots of our players, and it's been a problem all year where we get beat off the dribble on the perimeter, and we aren't the most athletic. It's not like these players aren't trying, and it's not like you coach them up or whatever. Well, Sadiq's been on our team. This is the third year Coach Casey's worked with Sadiq, And if you can't teach him how to stop penetration by now, I'm not sure when it's going to happen. And it's not, again, I'm just not singling out Sadiq. Ivy got taken off the dribble, and so did Bogey. He got taken off the dribble multiple times. So that all it's happening to all of our players. So it's not just one. But we just need to find some more athletes, find some better defenders, get some rim protection, and then see what happens. So one thing I just like to talk a little bit about, we look at our team and we're struggling. We do need more talent. A lot of people were very optimistic about this year, and it felt like we had a complete roster, and that we were going to make the playoffs this year. And again, there's things that can happen. Things change. Teams go on streaks all the time. The Boston Celtics last year, for half the season, they were like 500 or just below 500. Then the second half of the season, they became the best team in the NBA for the second half of the year. They were by far. And they did that by buckling down on defense. The Dallas Mavericks, they didn't completely change their roster, but their defense really improved last year, partway through the year, and that's what propelled them to play, so well in the playoffs. I do get a big kick out of, I don't know if you get the fatigue of watching ESPN and different shows and listening to different podcasts, national podcasts. All they talk about is the Los Angeles Lakers, who were mediocre last year and are mediocre this year, but because they are the Lakers, they get so much hype, so much attention, and the league is full of talent, more than it's ever been, in my opinion. And we have so many good teams and players to talk about, and 90% of the talk seems to be about the Lakers. One thing the Lakers does show you, though, is that you can have LeBron James, who can get 30 and 8 on most nights, and Anthony Davis, who can get 25 and 10 rebounds, and they still get beat. So the point is you need to have a complete roster. You need to have, they just have a bunch of minimum salary players. They're shooting 20%, like the worst, historically terrible 3-point percentage, but they just aren't good. And yet we spend all our time talking. I mean, it killed me when we beat in 2004, when we beat the Lakers in the NBA Finals. And really, we call it a 5-game sweep, because there was one game in LA where they banked in a shot that helped win them a close game, and plus the Pistons really got a bad whistle that night, and then we just overpowered them in the other 4 games. And yet before the playoff game, everybody picked the Lakers. After we beat them and won the championship, all the talk was about the Lakers, and they didn't talk about why the Lakers lost and how the Lakers lost, instead of about how this gritty team with no guy that averaged over 20 points a game on it came in and just smoked everybody and played tremendous defense and played unselfish basketball. You would think that's something that people would like, but that's not what drives the ratings. And so I know the ESPN, I'm being critical of them, but they know what drives the ratings. So they know that when people hear the Lakers, they're more apt to listen. So the other team that they talk about all the time is the Brooklyn Nets, and same deal, man. Cade and Kyrie, they can come out and score 60 points, and they still lose. Their record is terrible. I don't know if they're 1-4 or what they are, but the bottom line is we need more players. You need to have 8 good players, and you need to have so many really good players, and you need to have players that can defend. So 3-point shooting is a problem. It is a league that 3-point shooting is a huge factor, and last night we shot terrible. We were like 20% on threes, and Bogey was 3 for 6. So if you took his percentage off there, then we were like 15% on threes. And so even though we lost the game by a lot, but it's just a big difference when you can't make a 3-point shot, or you just have 1 or 2 guys that can possibly make 3-point shots. So we do need to get better shooting. Again, I'm confident in Cade. Last night, Stu, he shot 2 for 4 or something, 2 for 5. I don't know what he shot, but he banked 1 in. So really, he only made 1. So I still am holding out hope that he will get better at his 3-point shot. He is, it's interesting what we're going to have to find out about him. We're going to have to find out. We're going to have to keep letting him shoot the three and hope that he starts connecting, because I'm not sure what happens. He did have a good game, fairly efficient game last night. He had 17 points and he shot a pretty good percentage, and he did get to the line quite a few times, but we just can't have the guy down by in the dunker spot that can't get the ball up to the basket and finish. Like I said, he missed a dunk, and other times we dumped it to him. He did get fouled, but he just can't power the ball up and over guys. So we'll see what happens to him. And we have this year, and he is, Sadiq and Stu, they play their guts out every night, and that's fun to watch. And so again, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to lose. It's frustrating, to have Cade put on, just a magical performance last night, and still we get our butt kicked. And, I know people get frustrated. So in an upcoming episode, I'm going to talk about, I'm not saying this year, but some potential coaches for us. Obviously, you can't change the whole roster, but you can change the coach. And that's what everybody always wants to do. I was a coach for a long, long time. And I know it's real easy to criticize the coach. And I, it's not feel good as a coach, but we do need to not overreact after only 6 games. And all the things I said, I loved about Coach Casey, his temperament, his demeanor, the way he treats his players, and that he stays even keel. I still question, they say that he's great at developing players, and when he was at Toronto, and I still not positive how much he had to do with their actual player development. I know that as far as staying even keel and being a good mentor for the players and teaching them how to conduct themselves, and by not overreacting, I think that's a great asset for young players. But as far as our strategy on offense and defense, and when things haven't gotten better and you've coached the same players, that we do certainly need an infusion of more talent at both ends of the court, but we do need more good defenders. And we'll just see what happens. Burks is going to make a big difference. I know he has that little bone in his foot that's broke and healing. And, I don't know the timetable for him. Bagley was so huge for us last year, and we need size down low. And, but he's going to be weeks away. In the meantime, what do? We just try to help develop our young players, give them minutes, try to put them in better situations, try out different combinations. Like I said last episode, we need to stagger players. We should have no minutes out on the court without Cade or Ivy. One of those two guys should be on the floor at all times. And so we need to stagger those two guys. Same with Bogey and Sadiq. We don't have to play those two together, but we should have one of them on the court at all times, because they both have the potential to score. So we'll see what happens. It doesn't get any easier. Golden State Warriors are coming to town. I'll tell you the story. I like to take my grandkids to a game every year, and so that Steph Curry is the most fun player for me and for most everybody in the country to watch. And so you get tickets to go see Steph play. They're not even the greatest seats in the world, but you pay over $800 for 4 tickets, and then Steph doesn't play because it's the second game of a back-to-back. So I hope for all the people that paid the high prices, the teams charge twice as much for the Warriors games as they do for the average game. Same thing with the Lakers. They charge like double, but they don't give you any of the money back if the player doesn't play that they're charging double for. So that doesn't seem quite right, but I don't think there's an answer. And as long as the teams in the NBA can get that price for those tickets, they're going to keep on doing it. But I want to thank you again for watching. As always, I want to thank my wife for editing and all the work that she's done, and my nephew Nathan for his continuous support and advice. Thank you for watching, and please tell a friend, spread the word, leave us, a comment if you can, and like us on YouTube and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify. We're excited that the great John Beeline is going to be on an episode down the road here once we get some more viewers. And thank you for watching, and go Pistons.